I wish I knew how to quit you.
Then why don't you?
You're listening to Codependent Content, the podcast where we discuss the TV shows, movies, books, and video games in which we share an unhealthy relationship.
There are just some things everyone agrees are just fucking wrong.
My name is Mattias. Join us as we try to unravel the characters, stories, and worlds that we are entangled with. Because just when we think we're done with content, it draws us back in. Episode 2, Through the Valley. Written by Craig Mazin, directed by Mark Millar of Succession fame, and I believe a few Game of Thrones episodes. This is the episode, I think. This is as Craig Mazin has said many times, take a deep breath. Oh, shit happened. Morgan, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah. Thanks,
welcome, everyone. I'm just going to jump straight into it. If you have not seen the episode 2, Through the Valley of The Last of Us, before listening to this podcast, what are you doing here? Go listen to it, because spoilers are coming.
And there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of spoilers.
Big ones that you probably don't want to hear on a podcast first.
Absolutely not. So this is your warning. Leave, come back. I appreciate you. Let's do this. Morgan.
Mattias.
Last episode was so hard for me to hold back.
Yeah.
And I think now you know why. Because
I have a pretty good idea.
We're talking about the arcs of the season and where these characters are coming from, and how Abby and Joel are going to eventually collide and what's going to happen. And I'm like, yep. The foreshadowing too, which is a really good insight, by the way. I still think it was really good. The holding your punches, don't pull your punches. Foreshadowing. I was like, that's really smart. That's really smart. But also, like, you're like, something's going to happen to this character. I'm like, yeah. Something
happened.
This is the most probably divisive thing in storytelling. I feel like that we've ever had.
Specifically
with the death of a major character.
Yes.
Right. And when this happened in the games, it caused a lot of controversy, which I do want to get into a little bit. And for people who haven't played the games, I'm sure this is going to be a shock to the system.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, basically everything you thought was going to happen, or had built up in your mind, it's completely different now.
Yes.
Things have changed. So Morgan,
yes,
you have not played the games.
I've only played the first game.
Right. You've not played the second game.
Yes.
This is new to you.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, look, we haven't come out and said exactly. Should we just say the thing?
You can say it.
Guys, Joel is dead. And it's really, really sad, I would say. I think it's extremely tragic. But I'm okay. Hear me out.
I'm not okay.
And
I've seen this, and I knew it was happening.
And we can talk about that too. I hope so.
Yeah.
I love Joel.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fantastic, tragic, deeply flawed character.
Absolutely.
I give stories so much credit when they're willing to make tough choices like that, right? The first thing that I was reminded of, I'm going to another spoiler from a different show, which at this point, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, you're probably never going to watch it. So I don't know what you're doing anyways. But it reminded me a lot. Season 1, Game of Thrones, our favorite everyman, who's the leader of like the Free North, Ned Stark, gets his head chopped off.
Yeah.
And it sent TV watching audiences into fucking crazy fury, right?
it's funny because most people, when they make a comparison to Game of Thrones and this episode specifically of The Last of Us, they specifically talk about the Red Wedding.
The Red Wedding's down the road too.
Yeah.
It's similar, right?
But in terms of like,
spoiler alert,
yeah.
Red Wedding, they kill a lot of people.
It's true, but I think specifically the killing of a character that has been built up as like the heroic figure, right, of Robb Stark.
Yes,
I think is a very apt comparison to this, right?
I think so.
Not exact, but I also agree that's an interesting pull that like you would look at, like, again, that is true. We built up this main character all of season 1, and suddenly he's gone.
Yep.
You know?
But look, the point I was getting to, I got sidetracked because, man, you start talking about Game of Thrones and it's easy to start talking about that a lot.
Sure.
But I have so much respect for stories and shows that are willing to kill their main characters. Even though I get it, if you're frustrated right now, if you're sad right now, that's super valid, right? They created someone and wanted us to like him and to be, attached to him and stuff. And now he's gone. That's tough. But after you watch a lot of TV, after you play a lot of games, after you watch a lot of movies, a lot of times, right, you watch a movie and you're like, oh, well, he's the main character. Nothing bad can happen to him. And you almost lose the feeling of there being stakes, right? You almost kind of start to feel like, well, sure, here's the battle. He's never going to die, right? And so when a show is willing to kill off big characters like that, I think it's awesome because we have stakes now. Anyone could die. And there's that uncertainty. Makes everything feel much more exciting to me, even though it's a bummer. I'm not happy that he died, right? But now I'm like, okay, anything could happen. Any narrative I thought I had, any kind of arc that I thought I was getting, I have no idea. I mean, now I think I know what the arc might be. Yeah. But man, that reset everything expectation-wise for me.
Yeah. This is I definitely, we're going to get into all of that, but there's a lot to talk about. But I will mention that is very specifically what you talked about in terms of like how movies and televisions and media tend to like portray our characters. This is a very bold decision, and not everyone's going to like it. There are people that I respect that do not like this decision, and I respect them for it. But I think that this decision is genius, right? And in the after episode podcast, even Craig Mazin, who wrote the episode, this is already in the game, so it's not something that he introduced, but he thought it was like, this is a genius decision because we take away any plot armor. Yeah. And that's, I think, what you're getting at. Is like, now we have entered a whole new territory of what this story could be, I
mean, very much, yes. And also, like, we talked last episode, right, a lot about Ellie needing to learn that she's not invincible, right? Yeah. What a big way to learn it. Yeah. I mean, or maybe she won't, right? Maybe she keeps butting her head against the wall. But my goodness, right? She definitely got hit pretty hard by this one.
I mean, it's for our characters and the journey that they're going on. It's gonna be wild. It's no hold bars here, and I'm excited to share that. Now that we can fully talk about it, obviously I won't spoil the journey, but there's a little bit more I can reveal in terms of like how things are going, and I'm really excited to get into it. But
I mean, I think this is also just side note, kind of fun and worth talking about, is that like when Mattias and I were, for those of you listening, when Mattias and I were talking about doing this podcast for the season, right? And I told you, well, I've only played the first game. I never played the second game. And you were kind of like, well, do you know the thing? And I was like, what thing? And you were kind of like, I don't know if you're going to be ready for this. And then I was almost like insecure. Like, I was like, what the fuck? You think I can't handle it? And I was like, what the fuck happens? And you were like, I can't tell you. And I was like, well, fuck you. Now I'm like all nervous about it, but I'm very glad you didn't. Yes. But also, can you imagine literally him being like, there's going to be something big, but I really want you to experience it for yourself. And I'm very glad you did. Yeah. But man, and who knows, right? We got 5 more episodes, I think. So who knows what the fuck else is going to happen.
I will say, part of me was thinking that they were going to stretch this out even longer and not happen until the third episode. Me and my friend were watching this. And again, there's a lot to talk about this episode. There's only one thing I want to talk about, but there's a lot to talk about this episode.
Yeah.
The Hoard thing and the Jackson thing, I'll just be up front, doesn't happen in the game.
Oh.
None of the Hoard attacking the town actually happened. So the whole time I'm like, they're going to stretch this out. They're not going to get to the they're going to cut to black and make me think that something's I'm going to have to hold this freaking secret for like another week. And I was going to be so pissed, but I don't like saying it like this, but I'm so glad that they killed Joel this episode.
Just so you're relieved.
So I can talk
the
about
burden
it.
is off. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious. So, you know, it's probably not, maybe it's not the most interesting thing, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
If the Hoard coming isn't in the game, how do they get Joel out and isolated?
We'll get into that. I'll definitely. I'll
cool.
tell you how things work out and stuff, and we'll get into it.
Cool.
And that's not to say it's like I like the Hoard stuff. It is just for people who know what's going to happen. Like this is the inciting incident. Like this is, and even Neil Druckmann knows this when they made the game. Literally this happens in the game more or less after tutorials, right? Like you do little tutorial things, you get a few scenes, and I will get into all those differences and stuff, and then this thing happens. Yeah, because it's the thing that starts the story in earnest, is what Neil Druckmann said, right? And so to get it at the end of episode 2 of a 7-episode season feels like it was prolonged quite a bit, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like I wish it, I was expecting it, I wish it would have come sooner.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got more time with Joel, and I'm glad they're still really good at telling the story and stuff. But it really is like, this is the thing that now the season begins, you know? So it is a little bit of a preamble that I wish we had gotten to sooner, but here it is. It's finally here.
Yeah. Totally.
So let's, again, lots to talk about, but you know, where best to start, but at the beginning. Yeah. Right?
Sure.
No cold open. We get titles. It's always an interesting day when you don't get a cold open, right? Or when you do get a cold open. Do you actually prefer, I'm curious, do you, if it's a cold open and you're like, ooh, cold open, or is it no cold open, you're like, oh no cold open? Like, what is it?
I love cold opens.
Yeah.
I don't think you get to do one every episode.
Definitely
no,
not.
It's like they're awesome, but
so
it's
it's a rare like jewel that
there's
you get,
spice. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
you can't, if you do it every time, then like we expect it, or like then it's like we need it. So it's like like sometimes it's like, you know, man, we've set up so much with the cliffhangers in the last episode. Just fucking get me to the meat. So
absolutely.
I didn't feel like we needed one for this episode.
Yeah, we kind of get something that could have been in the cold open, but they decided not to do it, which makes sense, right? This kind of little dream sequence of Abby. In the St. Mary's Hospital, right? And we're revealing, again, we know this is where she's come from. We know that this is the Firefly thing, and we know context clues would tell you this is probably after Joel did what he did, right?
Yes.
Very, you know, beat for beat, we kind of actually visit this throughout our time of playing as Abby. Again, I will say straight up front, we play as Abby during the game. How that comes comes in the game is very different, you know? But we actually visit this scene quite a bit of her doing this like dream sequence, you know?
Interesting.
How do you feel about it? Because I was thinking about it. I was like listening to the after episode podcast. I do have some thoughts about why I like bringing us here. Were you lost when this was happening? Was there something, were you kind of understanding what was going on?
I mean, I think like I literally said out loud, is that also her? And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, she's talking to herself. Okay. We're in memory. Like I think I got it, but it took me a second. I don't know. I still think I said it last week and I'm going to say it again. I think a lot of times when people do horrible, awful things, there's real reasons why. And I like seeing that, right?
Yeah.
If we just saw Abby show up and kill Joel, we'd be like, who's this shitty fucking psycho? Fuck her. When we know the context,
Interesting.
when we see these things happen,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, I'm not excusing it. I'm not condoning it, but I definitely can understand it to a degree. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting because we don't know I think I mentioned we don't know when Abby shows up in the game what she's there for.
How do you mean?
Like literally when she kills Joel.
Yeah.
We don't know why.
Oh, Jesus. And then you start playing as her?
Then, so it's so hard to talk about this because it's like, when do I tell you what happens in the game or not? Because there's so many there's subtle changes in like everything throughout this episode, right?
Okay.
I feel like I'll get to this kind of stuff later when we actually talk about like her encountering Joel and what happens, right? But this opening sequence, I think is so interesting and so important. This is the first time we're learning exactly what the impact is on her, right?
Yeah.
Sure, we saw that like Joel killed some fireflies, some people close to her, obviously, right? But now we know that it's a specific person, right? And whenever you've played the game, the first game, and you've seen the episode and you've seen the show, right? You know the hallway that she's walking down.
100%.
So when you see this hallway, like you're like, oh no, like where is she going? This seems familiar. It's the exact same hallway, the final hallway where when you're playing the game, you're as Joel, like going to like save Ellie. You're about to enter that hospital room, and that's exactly where she's headed, right?
Yep.
And so now you're piecing together like clues that like this is not she. You know, it wasn't just some soldier or something. You know, else that like Joel killed. It's the doctor.
Yeah.
And we get more.
Who was on
just in case you forgot that, they will show it to you again in the episode, right?
Yeah.
I think this scene is obviously it's like a dream sequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are things where like she's throughout the game, she returns to this moment again and again and again, right? Because she's still struggling with it. It's traumatic, you know? I will say in the game, there's no second person. There's no second Abby.
Okay.
So having two of them there is interesting. Probably more as like an audience surrogate because typically in the game you're pushing Abby forward, you know?
Sure.
And it's like, do you want to go? Do you not want to go? You're making those decisions, right? Here it's outright like her talking to herself, you know?
Sure.
I want to say upon further thought about thinking about this, the reason why I like this scene so much and I love her talking to herself and her revisiting this is you have to remember this is 5 years since that happened. And she's been on the hunt for Joel that entire time.
Yep.
Maybe not the entire time. She's been doing some training, she's doing some things, she's been waiting on information, but she's had this on her mind.
Yeah.
And every time she revisits it, she's reminding herself of the toll that the things that he took away from her. Right? And after 5 years, usually these kind of feelings kind of fade.
Yeah,
whatever.
you move through it. You process it. That's one of the craziest things about this.
And I think what's interesting about seeing how this is for the other people on her crew, they're very much not on the same page as her.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are, and they understand where she's coming from. They also are there to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But they're not quite as devoted to the idea that she is.
Not at all.
And I think that this scene is a representation of that battle within herself. That she has to, if she doesn't go into that room, then she will forget. That she'll turn around, she'll go back home, and she won't do what she's going to do. Right.
Agree. She's forcing herself not to like process it the healthy way and get over it.
Yeah.
She's forcing herself to remember.
Yeah. I think this is a representation of that struggle within her to, do I want to enact this revenge?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to do this thing? Can I move past this?
And I think the actor playing Abby, brilliantly, Caitlin Dever, like brilliantly does that.
Yeah.
In a couple scenes, but we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But like, it's palpable,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I mean, like, again, spoiler alert. I know I'm jumping around here, but like, Joel saves her life.
Yeah.
And is like very clearly, by all accounts to her, presenting as a pretty good guy. And you can see her struggling, you know? Do not think about what I'm being presented with right now. Think of the whole purpose of my life for the last 5 years.
It's like she almost is forcing herself to remember every night.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which has got to be a terrible place to put yourself.
Yeah, probably
mentally,
not healthy.
You know?
I don't think any therapist would recommend this path.
Yeah. And I think it's clear that kind of mentality is taking on not just her, but the people that she's close to.
Oh, it's weighing on everyone around her.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
And that's why I love this scene. And I didn't even get that in the game because we don't get that conversation. You know, we just think it's just PTSD. You just revisit it, right? It's just a moment in time where obviously you don't want to go down that hallway because you know what's there, but you have to, right? Now seeing it from this perspective, before I saw it as like this reluctance, you know, of revisiting it, and that was not something that she wanted to do. Now I'm seeing that she's almost forcing herself, that she could decide not to, but she's still doing it. She's still pushing herself to go into that room to see what happened, because if she doesn't do what she does.
And I think the way that she kills Joel is like mirrors that. Because like up until she's like literally doing it, it feels like she's dragging herself. It feels like she's like, I have to do this. But she doesn't seem like she wants to. She's not excited about it. She's not like, oh, awesome. She's like, it seems very hard, right? It's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we get through that dream sequence. They do wake up. They see Jackson in a new light. It's a lot bigger than they thought it was.
They are not
A
prepared.
lot more guards.
They're not prepared for anything,
They're not
actually.
prepared. Now
It's way bigger than they thought it was going to be. It has electricity. It's fully fenced in with guards. Also, they're not prepared for the cold, man. All of them are like fucking horribly ill-equipped for it. I don't know if they didn't pack clothes or just didn't understand how cold it was going to be. It's like, oh, they are out of their fucking element. They're struggling, like big time.
It is interesting because this is where I'll talk about the differences in the game and the game Abby versus Caitlin Dever Abby, right? Which I think both are fucking fantastic, you know, for the medium, and I don't mind the changes, but I don't think we ever get a sense that these people are there, and they might not be prepared for how big Jackson is, but in the game, like Abby, she is buff, she is muscular, right? She's as tall as Joel, if not taller, and like huge, right?
Oh, she's small. She's like mouse-ish. Like,
you have a sense that they know what they're doing, that they are a threat the moment that they show up, you know? The thing is like, again, when we play the game, we don't know what they're there for. We know that they're kind of like, they stumbled upon this town. Maybe they're looking for someone, but it's not necessarily like, we have to go in there and kill someone. It's just kind of like caution, as you would with like in a world where for 20 years, you don't know what, is this a Fedra thing? Is this is this Melanie Linsky and her kind of group, whatever. It's like, you got to be cautious, right?
Yep.
So here it's like, it's clear what they're doing and now they're being represented as like kind of kids, in their 20s.
Yeah. I mean, I think she's literally 24, right?
Yeah.
She was just like, I was 19. So,
Yeah.
and it's 5 years later. So
Yeah.
I think she's literally supposed to be 24. Still very young. Yeah.
So it is a subtle difference in the game, you know. Here, like, it makes sense. Like, what are they gonna do? You know, like there's walls, there's dogs, there's guards. They don't even know if he's in there. You know.
I mean, so much so, right? That like when Abby goes on her patrol duty out of the what's the house
The
they're
ski
staying
lodge.
called? The lodge. Thank you. But when Abby goes out of the lodge, right? There's like I'm gonna call him like the lieutenant, like the number 2 man.
It's Owen.
Owen, thank you. Owen's like, I'm formulating a plan. I need more time. Abby leaves, and the others are like, you can't have a plan that's actually going to work. Like, right? Like, my God, it's a full city. And he's kind of like, my plan is to figure out a way to get her to turn around. Because if we go in there, the only people dying are us.
An amazing insight, amazing change, because we don't know that in the game. Like that they are. I mean, we do know, again, we get a sense of that their reluctance, you know, but we did not know that they were going to ask her to turn around.
No, I mean,
You know?
but it makes sense, right? Because like Abby has been kind of like very clearly the driver of this.
Yeah.
And like the instigator. And it makes sense that in the conditions and how outnumbered and out-resourced they are, that like, thank God the others are reasonable, right? Because it's like, it would be easy to believe if they're, they're all crazy. Just they all, for some reason, want to kill Joel as bad as Abby, even though they didn't lose family or something. But it's like, no, they're reasonable. They're like, look, we're here to help you, Abby, but we die if we go in there. Fortunately for them, they don't have to. But yeah.
Which that's as someone who's played the game was kind of expected, you know.
Yeah.
So this kind of reluctance was kind of interesting. Yeah, so it's less that they're ill prepared.
Yeah.
I think it's more the fact that like they are looking for any reason to like turn back.
Sure.
To convince Abby is like, why are we, like, what are we really gonna do? Are we gonna take over this town? Are we gonna like sneak in and like assassinate someone?
Yeah.
You know? It's a lot for them, you know? And they've probably have somewhat of a good life their own way, whatever they found before. It's like they just want to get back to that.
Yeah.
You know? And this is, as you said, Abby's the driving force. This is her mission. They all lost people. She lost a father, though.
Yeah. And also
she
like,
lost someone really close to her.
And like, there's also something specifically tragic about it that she points out that, again, we'll get there later, but like, he wasn't one of the 18 soldiers. He was an unarmed doctor doing a pro bono scientific medical procedure for a theoretically very good cause, right? So it's not even like her dad got gunned down in a gunfight against Joel. Unarmed, innocent dude that Joel gave about a second and a half of consideration before he put a bullet in his head.
Do you remember that moment?
Pretty well. Yeah.
Do you remember how it played out for you when you played the game? Because I have a different, probably
when
different
I played
story.
the game, no. I thought you were. I mean, do you remember the moment from season 1?
The game.
The game, no, not really.
So for me, I remember that moment, and I think it's super important to recognize. Well, I'll talk about this a lot. Between the first game and the second game, there's a 10, 13 year gap, I think. And actually, no, probably like a 10-year gap. And I remember that moment.
Talking about release date.
Release dates,
Time.
yeah.
Yes. We've established there's a 5-year gap between in
Yes.
time. But yeah, I think the first one was released in like, I want to say 2012, maybe 2011. And then the second one I want to say was like 2020. 2020, yeah. Like lockdown.
It's almost a 10-year gap.
So yeah. It was a while.
Yeah. And I remember like playing the first game. I actually played them almost back to back, 6 months apart, you know? I remember playing the first game, getting to that moment, and we got to imagine like game 2 was not conceived when they made game 1. This moment where you kill the doctor is just a part of the game. It's to drive like a point home of like where Joel is mentally, you know, like you had just gone through like the most arduous ordeal of trying to get to Ellie. And then you get to this hospital room. And I remember I wasn't going to do anything. I was like, just give me Ellie and I will go, you know? And this doctor is saying like, you can't take her, you can't do this thing or blah, 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 you know? And it was like, and I was like, I was waiting. I was taught escalation of force in the military. And I was like, you're not a threat to me. I'm not going to do anything. And then he pulls out a knife on me. And then he starts running towards me. And it forces me to pull a trigger. Because I'm like, that's a threat now.
I mean, it's a scalpel, right? It's not even like a knife.
At that, in the game, it's a threat, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the game didn't give you a choice. I thought I was going to have a choice there. And the game doesn't give you a choice, you know? Because it wants you to like drive the point home. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm taking Ellie, you know? For some people, they walk in, immediately just start shooting, you know?
Sure.
And for some people, I think you can actually play out where like, you can't get past that moment until you like shoot him. Like, I think he kills you or whatever. You can't like get out of it, you know?
Sure.
I don't remember exactly how it happens if you don't like pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing because like, I don't think that they knew that was going to be the moment when they originally conceived The Last of Us 2, I think is when they decided that was going to be it, you know? And that was way after the first game was released, you know? And for me, when I'm playing The Last of Us 2, and the moment that I find out it's a doctor, which is not till way later.
Yeah.
You know? That's where I'm like, I did do that. I was forced to do that in a way. I was like, wow, like it's such a moment, you know, where like, I was like, that was it, you know, where it's like, you could easily have like thrown that away. It's, you know, whatever. It was like, what, that is so much bigger for Abby. It's so much bigger for those characters. And it shows you that like, you can't just do this.
You can't just kill people. I mean, it's like it to the credit of the show too, right? It's like that scene in the last episode where Joel's moving through the hospital, gunning people down, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't think the doctor's particularly memorable.
No.
Right? Mm-mm. It's like one of the quickest kills out of the entire scenario, right? Mm-hmm. And they frame it really wisely, right? By being like, Joel's already argued with the Fireflies. He's made his case. And they're like, walk him out of the facility a couple miles. Mm-hmm. If he tries to do anything, kill him. So he already knows. Yeah. No negotiating with me. Right? And he just starts doing the Joel thing. And I think in the show, the doctor has one line, right? He's like, unhook her now. And he's like, I can't do that. I refuse to. And Joel's just like, bam, I don't have time for this. And he turns to the nurses and is like, unhook her. Mm-hmm. Right? And at that point, no part of me was like, oh God, wait, he killed an innocent doctor? It's like,
you don't think about it. No. Because you're in Joel's mindset. You're like, no, I am taking this person.
It's number 17, number 19. It's like, yeah, dude. And also it's like, you know, ostensibly it's like they've heard the gunshots. This is Joel. Like, what did you expect? Right. But they don't know that.
This is a thing that like, I think we have to constantly be reminded of. And we were reminded of last week in the therapy scene. It's like the way Joel does things, right? It's like, that's how he operates, you know?
I mean, this is one of the maddening parts about it, right?
Yeah.
Is because had he either told the doctor, you know, just get on the ground, put your hands over your head, I'm taking her, or had he killed the two nurses also, right? Mm-hmm. Abby's plotline doesn't exist because there's no bystanders. No one knows anything about him then, right? I'm assuming that the only reason Abby has this description and what happened is because the two nurses were standing there.
Well, there's still Fireflies left, so people knew about Joel and what was going on.
You know,
so some people knew what was going on. I think it's implied that like Owen was a soldier, a little bit older than Abby, and was possibly like closer to like the ear to the ground, like what was going on. So there's not, I don't think he completely gets away with it, you know? And I think, so regardless, I think that's also like the point, you know, is that this such a minuscule moment for us is something that really, really matters to someone else, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this is the beauty, right? This is what I'm talking about, is that like, it's easy for us as an audience member, or for Joel as someone who's just thinking singularly about getting Ellie back, to pull the trigger and lives, right? But every single person, right, means something to somebody in a big way, right?
Yeah.
They're human beings still.
Yeah.
Right. And this is like the cool part, I think, in the show, of having this whole plot line and arc with Abby, is it's like we both get to see the impact of experiencing something that terrible and soulless and, you know, for lack of a better word, evil, maybe. We get to see the impact on her, and we also get to see what it makes her do. Pretty fucked up.
Yeah. This is one last thing on this whole thing. It's very much the Street Fighter, Chun-Li and what's his name? Not Zangief or whatever, but the Baron guy, you know, where he's like, you know, to you, I killed your family, I destroyed your village, and I changed your life. But to me, it was just another Tuesday.
Yeah. Right.
You know? Obviously, like, Joel's not evil, right? If he could go back, would he change the moment? I think so. But we know that, again, that's the problem, is how Joel operates. It's like he doesn't regard the other people. He only regards either himself and the people that he's close to.
Yeah.
You know?
But like, also, I mean, I feel like I have to say this, because the way you're framing it could also construe it to make it sound like Joel is like truly a bad guy or something. But it's like, hey man, when a fungal infestation takes over humanity, and then a shithead government soldier guns down your innocent daughter, I get not trusting people. Like, I'm not, again,
I think
not excusing.
Yeah.
Not excusing.
Sure.
But man, I understand a no bullshit approach to people who have other opinions than you at that point.
But it's the way he does it, right? And I think that I don't even know if I have to say whether or not I think Joel's a bad guy. I want to get into it later. I think Joel knows he's a bad guy. This is not something that he is surprised by.
I think Joel knows he did bad things.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think he spent a lot of time trying to put other check marks on the other side of the scorecard.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
To make up for it, for some sort of redemption or whatever.
Yep.
But he has done, he's had 20 years of this.
100%.
You know, of doing these things, right? Because when we find him with Tess beforehand, there's no illusions about who they are.
No, they're dangerous bad people,
and they know it, right? But yeah, let's again. Only one thing I want to talk about, but we'll kind of move through the other things quickly.
We might. There's a couple cool scenes we can talk about.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. And the main thing we can talk about, I think we'll add Dina and Joel together along with their patrol with Abby stuff, right? And then we'll let's talk about Ellie, where she's at, the patrol. Yeah. We'll talk about the Hoard, and then we'll finally get into the thing, right?
Cool.
So, Jessie shows up, gets Ellie for this early patrol, 8 a.m. Not too early for me, but it's early for her.
7:30 for the 8 a.m. patrol, because he knows that she's hungover.
Yeah.
I love how much he razzes her.
Yeah.
And then, like, she's just like, I got in a fight, she kissed me. And I didn't know it was going to happen. She's probably just doing it to make you jealous or whatever. And he's just like, what? It's fucked up you did that. She's like, I'm so sorry. She's like, nah, I know. I was just fucking with you.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care at all. He doesn't care at all. It's like, oh, we love him.
We're great. We're in a world that knows where they're, they're very accepting
They're
of
good. Progressive man.
Right,
He understands.
yeah.
His relationship is over. She's moved on to other things.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
okay, and he's happy for
Very
Ellie.
big of Jessie,
Like,
of course.
okay,
Yeah.
we like Jessie a lot. I do. I like Jessie a lot right now.
I mean, to be honest, like, there's not many options. Dina's very pretty.
Totally.
I would be jealous.
Of course.
I probably would not be as forgiving as Jessie,
Yeah.
but like, there's a point where you're like, it's like if that's what Dina and Ellie want, like it's not up to you, it's your thing, and I think he understands that, he accepts that.
I think you can see it.
Yeah.
You can't make people love you, right?
Yeah.
It's like he's like, it's fine. But yeah, I like it. It's like, I think also I like it. Like, yes, I like that he is a big enough person to be okay with the breakup. I like that.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I was trying to say though is that I like it when other people fuck with Ellie. She is so consistently the perpetrator of fuckery. Yeah. Right. That it's kind of refreshing to watch other people kind of poke her and razz her a little bit. Right. It's like, ugh, yes, good. Because not only is it like just satisfying watching her, having to take it instead of dishing it, but also it's like, I think it's good for her. And it's like, oh, this means that someone cares about you. Right. We don't fuck around with people like that we don't like. So I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And they're going on patrol. It's going to be him. It's going to be Jessie and Ellie. And but Ellie wants to go with Joel.
Yes. And also, we should say, right, she wants to go with Joel. And Jessie's kind of like, but all bullshit aside about Dina, like, you seem pretty upset at Joel. Like, are you guys okay? And Ellie kind of like pops off on him a little and is like, hey, we're fucking fine. I know she has some awareness that people are like, why aren't you good with Joel? And she's kind of like, we're fine. We squashed it, or we talked about it, and everything's better. And he's like, oh, really? Okay, great. And she's like, yeah, just shut the fuck up. Help me out here.
Sure.
I think she's lying, right? I mean, like, what we watched at the end of the episode 1 is like, they very much did not talk about it.
Absolutely.
Or figure anything out.
Yeah.
She just doesn't want to talk about her problems or be vulnerable, it seems like, with Jessie. Yes.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think she's definitely like in a space where, and maybe there's some not resentment, but regret in terms of like how she's treated the situation,
Yes.
And maybe she's coming around to wanting to eventually talk to Joel.
Yeah. And I only bring this up because all the more tragic that she is never going to have a chance to work it all out with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. It's so interesting because that is what I think is the point that we eventually get to, is that she wants to be with Joel, and it's one last little like nail or like stake or whatever you want to call it into like saying like, hey, she's not going to get this moment. Like she woke up wanting to things to be different for whatever reason. And it's not going to happen, Yeah.
She was like, because she's aware of the tension. She's trying to get on patrol with him. Yeah. Right. She could go with Dina. Like, they just had a pretty good night, but she's like, no, I want to go with Joel. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, I think in hindsight, a heartbreaking moment, in the moment you're like, okay, so they're, it's going to be fine. They'll talk about their things. They'll do what they normally do, which is argue or whatever and stuff. Yeah. And here's we don't even get that. We don't even get the luxury of hearing them like fight with each other again.
Not at
all. So yeah, they do go and smooth things over with one person though. And that's Seth, right?
Do they smooth things over with Seth?
How do you feel? He said the thing, and he seemed genuine about it.
I agree, and I think Ellie was a piece of shit to
of course.
him about it.
Well, she was called.
I think that he smoothed things over.
Well, I don't think as he should have.
I think yes, as he should have. I don't think Ellie received it with any kind of grace or class. And I'm not saying that she has to, but it was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
dude is like, look very sincerely to feel bad and to want to make it better. And Ellie's just like, cool, dude, go fuck yourself. It's kind of
Ellie's not used to sincerity, right?
Yeah.
She's very much, that's the kind of like attitude that she kind of has. And I think that she's used to, maybe people saying things, but doing different things, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But also like, I also don't know that like it's complicated because like, it wasn't really her fight, cause like Joel took it from her, and so it's like, also it's like, how much does she actually care about it? Right. And maybe she doesn't want to address it because she's still feeling weird about the whole Dina thing in general. There's a whole lot, probably complicated feelings going on. Yeah.
From a writing perspective,
Sure.
I think it serves something very different.
Absolutely.
I think this is a very nice piece of foreshadowing that Ellie doesn't do forgiveness very well.
Mm-hmm.
And by
She
the end
holds
of
a
the
grudge.
and by the end of the episode, it's going to be very relevant.
Yeah.
Right.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the only reason I bring it up is because I also recognize that you were like, how do they allow this person to be in a commune? Is what you said last week.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's like, why is this person here? And it's like Maria is like aware of it, and she does the thing where she's like, tell her you're wrong.
Yes.
Tell her you're sorry, and like because I feel like that's an ultimatum. It's like if you want to be here, like you have to change.
It does seem like,
Yeah.
right, that it's not just that, what's his name? Seth?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like Seth is just wrong. It does seem like that the commune is also like, make this right,
Yeah.
or we will have capital C consequences for you.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree.
So yeah.
But also,
Good to know.
he made him steak sandwiches.
He
That
does
sounds worth
he does a
something.
nice thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He does have value, something that he brings, and he clearly cooks,
Yeah.
And I bet those sandwiches are fucking dope, dude. I want a sandwich that looks like that.
I don't think they're getting steak a lot in the commune, man.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, I think
Can we
yeah.
just be clear?
What?
We're not taking his side. He's probably a piece of shit, but like a sincere apology is a sincere apology. Learning how to apologize for things is something that takes most of us years, if not our whole life, to learn. That was a damn good apology.
If it was-
he didn't say I'm just sorry for saying it.
yeah.
He said I probably shouldn't have ever thought it in the first place.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'm sorry. Also, here, these are for you.
Yeah.
That's graceful.
Yeah. If it was Joel, I imagine, because I'm like, it's like if it was me,
Apologizing
he's like, I show up, he's like, sandwich. That's
Yeah.
it.
I
That's
think-
literally the extent of the conversation.
I think Joel is literally probably like, sandwich. I'm sorry.
We're good.
And then walks away.
Like there's, it's so he gets a lot more than he probably would have in any other normal circumstance. I commend him for it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do we
It was a
like
good apology
agree?
is what I'm trying to say. Yes.
And people should be more like Seth,
It's a good apology.
I guess.
I
don't know what I'm saying.
People should apologize like Seth.
People should apologize. People should be forced to apologize like Maria forces Seth to
on.
apologize.
No, but he seems like he wanted to. He does seem like he wanted to.
They go on their patrol.
Yeah, they do.
Dina's with Joel. The rest are staying behind. Again, when do I bring this up? Big change. This is actually Dina and Ellie that go on patrol. And it's Joel and Tommy that are out there already. It's also should be noted that we get 2 different patrols in this show, right? Whereas the first episode and this episode.
Yes.
Whereas there's only one, right? So the whole like market thing and the finding the stalker or whatever, like even though there was no stalker in the game, doing that whole thing is like it's a tutorial because you're with Dina during this patrol.
Well, and then specifically though, and you're going to help me with this because I'm missing some details, but this patrol is not the typical patrol, right?
Yeah.
Is that we are doing a larger whole commune recon session because of a potential hoard. I don't think they ever use the word hoard, but
No,
they're suspecting.
They're
something
suspecting
bigger.
something's out there, but also because a storm is coming, I think.
Yeah.
Like, again, in the game, there's no horde
Yeah.
really. There is a horde, there's just no like horde that attacks Jackson. That's not like a real worry, you know. That's not a thing. Like there may be like mention of it,
but this time it's like there's multiple recons going out. It's not like a single recon party, and they're going to different areas all around Jackson,
which we would typically understand is like that's usually how it works. It's just usually typical recons. There's different points, you know, and it's a very good moment. I will say like this is an interesting change because what's also really interesting is, again, by the time we get into the game and we go on this patrol and we're with Dina when we when Seth apologizes to us, we don't exactly know what he's apologizing for. Oh, because we never actually see the dance. We've heard about it. We've heard about what happened. We know that Ellie's on the rocks with Joel. She doesn't want to go on a patrol with Joel. She doesn't want to be with him. You know, so it's a very interesting like changes from the game. There's like one specific scene that they take out because it's not Ellie and Dina. Yeah. You know, that I'm curious on. It might be a spoiler because it might come up later, but at the same time, like it's something that I feel like is interesting that they left out that we'll talk about and we'll get into it, you know, but hopefully it doesn't spoil what comes later but by this time it would have already happened in the game. But this is just interesting to note that like Tommy's behind, Joel's out there with Dina, and Ellie and Jessie are going out on their patrol. I like it because we get a little bit more Jessie, which we don't get too much in the game, you know. But it is very different. They do, you know, have to seek shelter from the storm. After a little bit of time, they can't, you know, radio contact is having a hard time or whatever, and they seek shelter in this 7-Eleven. Yeah. And just so happens to be a place where Eugene was growing some weed.
They found Eugene's stash.
Which I alluded to before.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's like we know like existed, you know. And yeah. Anything you want to say about the scene? It's pretty straightforward. I mean,
I don't have big notes, but it was just a nice little like connecting piece, being like, we learned a little bit more about Eugene.
Episode 1. Again, I think we're gonna learn a little bit more about him later on. And we learned that he was a Firefly. Mm-hmm. Here's one thing I want to say. Talking about like anachronistic, there's like little things still that like kind of like bother me. Whereas like he's like, oh, I think Eugene was in Vietnam. Jesse, how old are you? What do you know of Vietnam? Yeah. What exactly is your knowledge of Vietnam at this point? Because like at that point, like that would make Eugene what, 70, 80?
Yeah.
If he was in Vietnam and he was 20 years old in like the 70s, and this is 2029, what is that? That's like 30 years. So he would have been, 60 years, not 30. That's 60 years.
So if he was 20 in Vietnam,
that's 80 years old.
Yeah, right. Maybe he was 18.
I have no idea what's going on. I'm going to forgive it, obviously, but it's such a weird moment. I can't forgive sometimes a little bit of writing where they're like, yeah, I think we know what that means. I don't know what that means to Jesse, you know, or to Ellie.
Because he's like, if he's 25, then he was born in 2003 or 5, and like, Vietnam. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're teaching the kids about Vietnam these days.
I have no idea, you know. But I guess he's a free-loving Vietnam. He didn't want to kill people, you know, and that's Eugene. Again, we get a little bit more about who Eugene was, and a little bit of a kind of that guy. Just that, like, he was the dude, bro. Yeah. He was the guy.
Totally.
So probably makes whatever Joel did that much heartbreaking.
I do have one question that's just hear me out. You know, maybe I'm not thinking about things the right way, but like they make a fire and part of me is like, isn't that dangerous? Wouldn't like, you know, the infected see that and be like, life? I would be afraid to make a fire.
During a storm, I'm not sure that's going to be, it's not really going to be noticeable, you know? Okay. You know, so I think that, especially like one of those fire pits is potentially smokeless. You know, it's not quite as like, there's not a huge smoke fire coming out of the top of that thing, the vent, you know? So I can forgive that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I did used to have one of those fire pits and it was perfectly fine. You know, it wasn't like it wasn't a huge smoke signal that was going up into the air, right?
Cool.
Also, like they still don't know if the infected are out there. Like it's too cold for the infected. right?
Or is it?
That's the thing.
We got to talk about this because they allude to this, I think, in a scene just before they hunker down, right? That they're like, they think the infected are using bodies as insulation and like hiding underneath ground level or something like that. That's fucking crazy. I hate that. It's like so creepy, so disturbing, so weird. And I think in like literally a scene and a half, then we see that like fully realized with
Abby.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to jump too far.
No.
But we're not that far
Not
from
at all.
there.
We're getting close. Yeah, it's definitely like, it's definitely something that they allude to. So we know that they're out there. So it's not a bad question, and everything.
Yeah.
But they don't know at this point, like, what the extent of it is, right? They're not sure. Like, it could be 30, it could be 1,000 is what they say. No one expects 1,000. That would be
It's closer to 1,000 than it is
ridiculous.
30.
Yep. The one change that I would say, this is the thing that I miss, right? I don't know how to feel about it. When this was Dina and Ellie and they found Eugene's stash, they stumbled upon it by accident, right? And they're like, oh, this is Eugene's stash. And they take shelter here from the storm, They get a lovely moment.
Yeah.
They get time together, I'll say. There's an allusion to at least making out.
Sure.
Maybe they go, what is it, home base,
First base, second
they,
base, third base, I don't know.
I think they round the bases,
Okay.
but it's not we don't see it.
It's not graphic.
Potentially, and we do get, this is such a moment that I'm like, man, why are we missing it? Why do we not get it here? And there's probably reasons for it, but I will say it's something that I definitely miss, and it's especially important because Ellie is letting her walls down. She talks about, I can't remember the exact context. She talks about her tattoo and she talks about her scar. And she mentions that she has been bitten.
Yeah.
Dina doesn't believe her, thinks it's like a joke, because obviously, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Of course you haven't been
Totally.
bitten. But Ellie tries to let someone in.
Yeah. Interesting. So, and who is Joel with again?
Tommy,
Okay.
his brother.
And that doesn't, in our episode, Tommy stays back at
Yep.
home.
Yeah.
Okay. I have theories about this just for narrative
For
stuff.
sure. Yeah.
That I can toss out now if you're interested.
I
But
think we can get to it when we actually talk about Dina and stuff, because I think it's important that she is with Joel despite all that,
Yes.
and
I definitely
but
think
the
so.
thing is like I do feel like we might get it later again. I don't know, but I feel like it sucks that we kind of like miss it, that we miss this little moment. I can't remember exactly why I felt that way, but it was definitely something that I'm like, in the game, it's like, these are things, again, we don't know what's going on with Joel and Ellie.
I think we'll certainly get it next episode, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I don't have
probably.
any guarantees. I didn't write the show.
Yeah.
But the next episode is going to have some serious grieving and talking of feelings and such. And I think this is when we're going to see Dina and Ellie having a heart to heart.
I will say it is also, if you were like getting the marketing for the second game, I think they heavily wanted to imply that Dina was going to die in the marketing and in the game. And that because you kind of know that Ellie's mad about something if you watch the marketing for the video game, and then like that she's wanting revenge for some reason. And I think that this is also like, that's what that scene was supposed to kind of like give her something, whatever. I do feel like we miss it, it is one of those things where like I hope we get it, I hope we get Dina and Ellie being themselves and stuff, but it is something that like was different for the game than it is here as well. It's we're introduced to a new character. We're trying to get to learn who she is to Ellie and whatever, you know. And we also don't get the dance scene. Remember, beforehand we
get
like in the game we don't have the dance scene. This is all we get. Of
So
Ellie
we get a
and
little
Dina.
more before Joel's death.
Yeah.
But a little less theoretically. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I still think
It's interesting changes.
Yeah.
I do miss it, but it is what it is, right?
I think we'll get more.
The
though.
last little thing I'll say about like this scene is like that we don't get in the game is something I'd never thought about. And it's the moment where she's like, listen, Jessie, we know you're going to take over this town someday, you know? And like, he's just like, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I never thought about that. Like Jessie is like and I think there's a reason for that. Like, you know, the way that they want to like remind you of who Jessie is, you know? We don't get as much of Jessie in the game, but I think it's like important for to understand like where he's coming from and why he is so like hard on Dina and Ellie, you know, is because there's a lot of pressure on him as well. Like I never like thought about it. Like we don't see very many like young men, you know, they're a lot of older men, you know, he's probably like the only one that I've seen. There's some young boys, but he's probably the only one that's been born after the outbreak. But still like old enough to like understand, you know?
Sure.
And he's taking on a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, kids have to grow up pretty quick in this world, right?
Yeah.
You start going on patrol as a late teenager.
Yeah.
You're shooting infected as soon as you do. And at any moment, you know, it could be a horde, something crazy happening, or raiders, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like in any other like medium, like Jessie would be our main character.
Yeah.
You know, he'd be the guy we're following because now I'm like wondering like what does he want, you know? And like now like with him not having a love interest in Dina and Ellie's taking it and all this kind of stuff is like I kind of feel for the guy.
Yeah.
And how much that he must be like going through, you know, and what a journey he's gonna have.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know how you felt about that, but that was just something I had never thought about, and it was something that I think is gonna definitely like play later, you know.
I think so. I'm just like,
yeah,
I'm not worried about him. His temperament and disposition is like so confident and positive and strong that I'm like, I don't know what he wants, but he definitely seems like he's got it figured out. You know what I mean? Like I think he's either like, there's other fish in the sea and I got other things I could do with my life, or you know, like my relationship with Dina didn't serve me, or I just have my eyes set on different prizes. Like I don't know, you know, but I think that he seems okay, so fundamentally okay.
I think he is, but I do think that he doesn't have it figured out because I think Ellie is the thing. It's like when the moment he thinks he has it figured out, then comes Ellie, you know? And I think that I think how her relationship with Dina will be important in that, you know? It's like he thought he knew who Dina and Ellie were, and he thought he understood the world, and then Ellie comes along and like it probably changes the relationship with Dina and then all that kind of stuff. I think that they're very different. I think it's like I think the way that Ellie impacts people, and which is why he's like so confuddled with like, aren't you and Joel mad? Like, what is going on? Like, I think he's trying to figure these things out.
Yeah.
You know?
That's interesting because like I hadn't considered that as much. I've been more concerned, like, I don't know if anybody else gets this from watching it, but I'm like, man, I hope Dina's not a straight girl that's just experimenting at the fucking expense of Ellie's feelings, just to fucking wait for Jessie to come back and be like, this is worth it. And like, part of me was also afraid watching how absolutely okay with everything is, that Jessie was just like, yeah, he knows that that's what Dina's doing, you know, that he's so not threatened by it because he sees it as a ploy or whatever. So I was kind of, that's been my fear, that Dina has like no real interest long-term in Ellie at all.
Yeah.
And that it's just she's a warm body, you know, and a rebound and like a potentially a mark to make Jessie want her again or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's the only reason I bring it up is because like I do feel like that we'll learn more about these relationships and this kind of triangle, so to speak, or whatever, you know? And it's like I don't want to pass over that moment of like who Jessie is and like what's expected of him. And I don't know what I'm trying to say about it, but I think there's a lot more to that moment that we're going to learn later on, you know?
Sure.
And I just didn't want to like pass by that moment, regardless of the fact that like it's future stuff, right?
Sure.
Let's see. Abby is on a patrol. She goes off and she's
freezing.
She's trying to like, I guess, do, observe and report, so to speak, right? She is freezing. And you know what? One thing VFX can't do is like put the red on her fucking nose, right? It's like they're out there, and that actress is cold.
Yeah,
they're really doing it. Great to see in a show that could be full of VFX and shows that could be done in a volume. Yeah, I love it. I love that they're out there.
Yep.
Sucks that poor Caitlin Dever had to go through that, but she's out there and she's doing it,
Yeah.
And they're on this mountaintop, and she sees a patrol. She doesn't know who it is, but
no idea. Just two horses.
Her plan is to take the patrol and find out where Joel is. Right?
Yeah, she's like, she starts to hunt them,
and she's gonna do it herself.
Yep.
Unfortunately, she falls down, slides down this cliff, whatever, mountainside.
Yep.
And runs into, a bunch of dead bodies.
Bodies at first, she thinks. Dead at first, she
thinks.
thinks.
I'll be fair. To be fair, the ones on the top are dead.
Some of them, but also I don't know. Like some of them look to kind of like come to almost.
I think it's led to believe that if you're on the surface, you're not alive.
Okay.
And then it's the ones that are below the surface that are the problem, right? And
we're not going to get into we're not going to get into the science of that, but
I mean, I don't know how mushrooms work, so
right.
This is a very small moment in the game, but that there is like obviously like a small little horde, that Abby has to run from, but we never get this like full on. Like this is actually literally like fucking thousands of zombies, and they're heading after a second straight for Jackson.
Yeah, they chase her for a little bit.
Yeah,
and she's like literally.
Well, they chase her. God. They chase Joel and Dina. I want to get to that, but I think
at
the point
though, it's like, they just veer right and like
because they're preparing the town, and for some reason the guy's working on the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
For some, just for plot sake, I guess.
He cracks open the pipe and sees the mutation and is like,
well, he takes out some roots because he's trying to fix it, and it just he's like, life is still going on, even though we're preparing for the worst. For some reason, this one guy
this
is
needs
like,
to happen right now.
yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, that thing. That's how it works. It talks to the rest of them, and that's why they turn around and they go towards Jackson, right? So let's skip over the Abby and Dina and Joel thing for a second. Let's go to Jackson.
Sure.
Let's talk about this for a little bit.
Let's talk about the siege.
A cool little I guess like, hey, we're HBO. We did Game of Thrones.
It so feels
you
like
you like
it. It's literally a tower siege.
Yeah.
It's it's like this could have been fucking King's Landing and the Battle of
Homeland or something. It's like there's a battle with Jon Snow and Home.
Yeah,
something,
I mean it could have either been the big battle at the Wall or it could have been the one at Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, not Helm's Deep. That's Lord of the Rings. Jesus Christ, King's Landing, but Blackwater Bay. But yeah. It could have been. It's like it's like, even though they have guns, it does feel like old school siege warfare, right?
Yeah.
They have these that was so cool, by the way, that just like these arms that drop that are perfectly sized for full barrels of gasoline. I'm assuming that they roll down and then shoot and kaboom and incinerate tons of infected. It's very cool.
Yeah. Not enough.
No, unfortunately, right?
I was
the siege is going very poorly for the infected.
Part of me was like, okay, cool trick. that fire's really close to these wooden walls.
I know, right? And the other thing I was thinking is I was just like, why is there not some sort of trench or separation or something? Why are they allowed to get all the way up to the wall? But
here's the thing: is like that's the main question that they're trying to answer is like, how do these people defend themselves, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're used to thousands of zombies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that you think this is not something that they're prepared?
I think this is very new. This is something that wasn't expected. I think they've been like actually like had very little interaction with people, and like the snow time is like it just so happens that for some whatever reason this season there's a lot more trapped under the snow than before, and they've been noticing them. That's the illusion, right? But I think they're used to like even they ask the question is like, is it raiders or zombies, or whatever, infected, right? And because I think typically a wall's probably just fine.
Yeah.
And honestly, they're doing okay until bloater.
A bloater.
Yeah.
Who's also
there's a big one.
Who's a breacher.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when they get the giant wolf head and they start breaking down the wall. Oh wait, no, that's also Lord of the Rings.
That's Lord of the Rings too.
Yeah. So yeah, my favorite thing is that like I think there's a small little moment where like before this all happens, like Tommy is like trying to get a hold of people and trying to call them back and through the radio, and they're like, oh, the only people that haven't answered are Joel and Dina, know?
Right.
And like Tommy's like, keep trying,
Every 10 seconds.
And the moment that we find him and this horde is coming and they start ringing the bells, he's about to get on his horse and he's about to go out there.
Yep.
And I think that's like another little thing of like, they want to keep teasing this idea that like someone will find Joel, but they keep getting pulled away.
Yeah.
It keeps like happening. Like he can't, and I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how I felt about this change at first, but Tommy needing to put aside, cause he believes that Joel's going to be fine. Right. Mm-hmm. I think it's somewhere in his head, he's like, okay, Joel he's not stupid, and I have to take care of this town.
Yeah. He's got a lot of other responsibilities.
Yeah, but I do think that there was a moment of hesitation where he's like, I'm going to ride out there in this storm.
Totally.
I don't care. And I'm going to find my brother,
Agree. I saw it too.
Yeah. Anything else about that moment that you felt or thought about? Yeah.
I mean, this is, it's charming. It's like, we feel the love between these brothers, even though they're both, one of them especially is, not good at expressing it.
Yeah.
But like they care about each other deeply.
Yeah. But something we do get that we don't get in the game is like how Maria and Tommy operate together as a unit. I love it. Again, I maybe hashtag couple gold this last time with Dina and Ellie, but now with Maria and Tommy, find me someone
power couple.
Give me like that,
Fucking
like they just like they don't even speak to each other barely. They just know.
They don't even fight in the same place.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like they're not back to back. He's like, I'm on the ground fucking with a flamethrower, helping people out, giving instructions. She's on the rooftop picking off the leaders, making sure that they keep their aerial advantage. Like it's very cool.
Yeah. They have their jobs. They know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they are also like clearly the people that everyone is looking towards, right?
They're leaders.
And in that time, they never take their eyes off of each other.
Yep.
Until they can't see each other, obviously. Yep. But they're like, she's protecting him and he is very...
I mean, she specifically picks off a number of infected that were about to murder him. And then it becomes clear that like a bloater breaks through and lets in a bunch of other like runners and such.
Yeah.
And after a brief skirmish on the main street, it becomes clear that the bloater and them are running at the buildings where the Jacksonians are on the roof, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so he kind of screams at them, gets the attention of the bloater,
Yeah.
and kind of draws them away.
What is that in D&D? What would you roll for distraction?
Yeah,
what do
distraction, probably.
You know,
yeah,
give me-
probably. Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like, like
Give me a performance check.
screaming at the T-Rex in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Not that way. And it's cool. This sequence is cool because like we only in the show's lexicon, we only have one other bloater experience, and it doesn't go well for the humans. So I think we're kind of led to believe that this is the end of Tommy, I thought.
Oh, did you? You
I
actually
did.
felt the stakes.
Well, I mean,
There's a little bit of plot armor.
Well, I mean,
obviously, I know how things work out, but
There
I
is
do.
plot
I
armor.
am interested to know, as a person who hasn't played the game, that
Yeah.
like you actually thought this might be it for him. That's
I
good to know.
I thought that was probably going to be the big twist of the episode.
Well,
So-
here's the thing: that's interesting. Because here's the thing for me is like anyone who's played the game knows that the best weapon against a bloater is a flamethrower.
See, because
So-
I thought it was kind of ineffective. Like watching them, I was like, yeah, he's just getting broasted here, but like he seems to still be moving at you. I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
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 It was
So,
intense.
yeah. Well, he made it through. You know,
did. Yes, he
and
did.
Exactly how it would happen in a game is like that. You run out of gas, but you just had enough.
Yeah.
You know, but he had his gun ready just in case. You know.
Yeah, well, the gun seems pretty ineffective on the bloater.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and then they release the dogs, and I guess things are okay.
So fucking badass. Can we just talk about how badass the K9 unit is? It's like so satisfying and also such a cool callback.
I
because-
just have to I wish that they had like introduced a character. Like I don't know why he's like maybe it's because of like watching too many other types of fantasy mediums, but like there's a guy with like a missing leg and like an eye patch, and he's like the dog trainer, you know, he's
The
like,
wrangler.
yeah, I'm gonna let these dogs go,
Yeah.
you know. But you know, Maria knows exactly where to go, and they've been trained really well.
Oh,
because
yeah.
like I don't know how to train a dog to do exactly that, you know.
Although we do kind of establish in season
Yeah.
1 that like Jackson has dogs that hate infected, right?
Sure.
Because there's that scene where like when Ellie and Joel encounter the Jacksonians for the first time in the woods, and
Yeah.
they're like, this dog's going to sniff you. And if it's infected, it's going to rip your throat out.
I forgot about that.
Remember?
You're right. Yeah,
So
they
we've
know how to
established
sniff it out.
That there's
Yeah.
like these fucking infected hating canines. It's very,
Yeah.
very fun and satisfying.
Yeah. Important to note, no dogs were harmed,
Yeah.
and we didn't see a single dog die. So we don't have to listen. I feel like remove Joel. If a dog died, we're all going after Abby.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. You know, we're John Wicking this shit.
It did bring up a question for
Sure.
me.
Yeah.
Do we know if infected can move beyond the human species? Because I was kind of like, what happens if a dog gets bit?
We haven't seen it in the games that I'm aware of, right?
But have they ever
and
addressed it?
And I don't know if they've addressed it in the video games or the show.
Because remember, like in episode 1 of season 2,
Yeah.
when before they go into the market, there's that like gashed up bear.
Yeah, but
I was
he's
kind of like, are we gonna get fucking infected bears?
yeah.
That's where my mind went.
I don't think I think it's like a brainstem thing that it just can't. Like they maybe eat it for sustenance, but they don't.
Huh.
They can't stay alive, you know.
No
For
fun.
whatever reason. I don't know. I was like, if it's Resident Evil, it's like, yeah, you're going to have,
course.
you know, good question. It is interesting. I will say that like dogs do come into play in the second game, not in Jackson, you know, typically this is something that like was a really cool game mechanic. And dogs are not something you want to fucking run into, you know, because they like, there's a cool like sneaking mechanic where you're trying to like sneak past soldiers and stuff, and they have dog units,
Yeah.
and you can see like when they're following your scent,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't crawl fast enough. Yeah. It's like
Which
so
is real.
fucking, you know.
Yeah.
And like it's also controversial because there are people that play the game that are like, I think my ex included was like, don't make me have to like kill a dog, like it's doing its job, you know, like I don't want, you know, it's it's another thing to have to kill a dog, you know.
And I mean, look, we've established in many human storytelling mediums, we don't like dead dogs.
Yeah. So I will say, this is not the first time we're going to see some trained dogs, you know, but it is nice to see them on our side for once. Yeah. Killing the infected.
That was a John Wick 3.
You know, I would have just like let them out first, but
yeah,
I guess we don't want to lose that many dogs, right?
Come on. No. They're the cleanup crew. They're the cavalry. You don't lead with them.
Yeah. Jumping ahead a little bit, you know, we see there's like an aftermath of this horde. Yes. You know, there's some people that are bitten. They have to be.
There's one that's super fucking bleak sequence.
Yeah.
It's a man sitting on like a balcony on the second floor. And he literally, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he just rolls up his sleeve to show a bite mark.
Yeah.
And then kind of looks up.
It's like as if he's handing the other person his gun.
Yep. And then just kind of like looks up at them and looks down. And then a gun gets raised and blows them away.
Yeah.
Very bleak.
Yeah.
Very, very bleak.
Again, the realities of this world, you know?
Yeah.
The thing about this is like, as I've mentioned multiple times, this doesn't happen in the game.
Yeah.
Right? And me and my friend talked about this quite a bit. I was like, what would be the purpose here? You know, like why? I mean, besides giving a spectacle, which is what HBO wants to be known for, you know? And I think the important thing to mention here is that like in a way, Abby inadvertently affected the rest of the town, not just Ellie. You know, and when Ellie comes back and she makes her intentions known, there's a clear indication in the game that like, hey, we don't condone this. You know, spoiler alert: Ellie does leave to go for revenge.
Yeah,
you know,
we saw these coming a mile away. That's not. I don't think that's a spoiler.
Yeah, right. But people, you know, they don't send an army out, right? They don't send a group, right? And I think this is a clear indication. It's like, hey, we don't have the resources.
Yeah.
We've been just as like devastated as you, Ellie. Like, Ellie, we love you, but you're not the only one that's suffered losses.
That's lost someone. Absolutely.
You know? And unfortunately, it is because of Abby, you know? Yeah. And this is like a small little ripple effect. Of like how Abby affected not just Ellie, but the entire community.
Totally.
I think it's not as overt or it's very indirect, you know? And I think what Abby does to Ellie is a lot stronger. But I think it is interesting to like show that like, hey, there's a reason why this is here. Is like this town has been devastated just as much as Ellie, you know? And we may see it as like spectacle or whatever, but it is something to take note of, that we're going to take note of in future episodes, I think, you know?
Makes sense.
Any other thoughts about like how you felt about it, the scenes, this whole thing exists, you know? And I mean, obviously like there were some stakes there or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the siege is cool.
Yeah.
It's a tense battle. It's awesome. Right. This is lame because like, the guy who's just like, how many bullets are in your rifle still? Is like not the most fun guy, but I'm like, okay, so Jackson has a lot of guns and ammunition and stuff, but like, I don't think that they have the ability to manufacture, right? Or like, it's a finite supply, I'm assuming.
Sure. Yeah.
And like, they killed a portion of this horde, right? They did a good job, but like, I don't think we're led to believe that like, they killed all of them, right? And I'm like, oh man, if Jackson has to do this once a month, shit's gonna get tight for them eventually, you know? Now maybe we're not counting bullets. Maybe in this world we're just like, yeah, Jackson has a supply depot full of ammunition, enough for 25 years or something like that. But it did occur to me that I was just like, they are gonna have to spend so many resources, not just the ammunition and stuff, but also to rebuild, right? Knock down walls. The infected destroyed a couple buildings, right? Like, and they're vacant, it looked like, hopefully, like, you know, but there's like a bakery, it looked like, that they ran into and just tore apart. And I'm like, even though they won, it's going to cost them.
Yeah.
made me think about that. I have a feeling we're not going to spend a ton of time with Jackson after
Maybe
this
not.
week. But yeah, it did make me wonder.
Yeah. And, again, it pulls Tommy away from the action.
Yeah.
And he has no idea what's happening. And what is happening is that Abby and Joel are going to meet.
Yeah.
So Abby runs away from this horde.
Yep.
Great sequence, almost exactly from the game.
Almost dies.
Is she goes into this mine thing, and she ducks behind a fence, a wall, and then goes through a fence, and this horde just comes crashing through this fence.
Yep.
Right? And she is like crawling, and they're just like right on top of her. And the only thing that's protecting her is like these like thin wires, that one hand is like just going through. It's like,
that's like one of the gnarliest shots in the episode, right?
My
if
God,
you missed it, not the episode, but the shot, it's like some infected is reaching so hard at her through a fence that the fence is cutting a hand in between the digits, digging into it it's horrifying.
Hey, remember, these are monsters. They have no feeling. They have one goal.
Is that true?
And that is to get to you.
Yeah. Right. Right.
It's like there's not a you think this is gonna turn into like a rom-com. It's like, they have a heart, kind of thing. It's like, maybe they do feel. No, it was like they
mutated.
This one has they have one goal, and it's to get to you. It's to expand their thing, and it doesn't matter. And the human body is just the medium for that. And honestly, there's no nerve endings for them. It's just what it is.
You don't think there's any nerve endings?
I don't think it matters to them. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty bleak, man.
Well, people are people, and
infected are people.
Infected are hashtag infected are people too.
Hey, hashtag infected rights.
Well, they didn't get to Abby. One of them goes after him. This is I don't know why, but seeing this in the trailer, seeing this in the show, I was like, this is such a visceral memory for me. Like this fence sequence is like, and again, this is where I'll bring up, you play as Abby at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Right. At this point, oh my God, this is such a fun sequence, right? Abby, you start playing as Abby, you wake up, you go on this patrol, everyone else is really asleep. You don't really get like a whole thing of like who this group is or whatever. You run into Owen, and then you're kind of like looking for the town, right? You're kind of looking for an outcropping to go to the town, right? Eventually you and Owen split. You don't even know why you're playing as Abby. Like at this point, like you started the game as Ellie, you switched to Abby. It's like, oh, this is a new character. Abby is like your protagonist. Yeah. You want to survive because like all you know is like, this is a character that I'm playing, and like you're going through tutorial things. You learn that she's, like afraid of heights and certain little things, and then like this horde happens, and then like you're just trying to like get out of it, Yeah. And this visceral feeling of like the fence, and like I'm trying to get through it. It just kind of like happens. It's like the way that like video games have evolved, and Naughty Dog does so well. It's like, it's not a cutscene and it's not gameplay. There's no like quick switch, right? It's like it seamlessly goes into like, I was running and now like this thing is happening. Yep. And it feels like just like a sequence in a show. Yeah. But you are the one trying to get out of it, and it's so visceral and it's so amazing, and that it sticks with you, and it's such a quick moment, but it is. And it's like beginning of the game, so nothing is really going to happen, but you don't know how this, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And it's, how they brought it to life and what they did, it's just so cool, And I love that they like basically like, I heard that they showed it to the people who made the game, to like to see their work like be put on display like in the show.
Yeah.
I was like, that's just awesome. Like there's nothing for me that like, that replaces that experience of having it in the game.
Sure.
But it's not something that you would think would be like the momentous thing, but it is, like, because it is so scary. It is like you feel like you are in danger, right? Like it sticks with you, you know? And I love how that they did it in the show, right?
Oh yeah, it's horrifying.
And she does get out of it, and the moment that I dread and I knew was coming.
Yeah.
And you hear the gunshot, you see the gun, you see a hand and that broken watch.
Yep.
And Joel saves Abby's life. And in the game, you are so thankful for that.
Of course you are.
Because you were playing as Abby and now here's Joel and Tommy. And I'm like, I'm safe now.
Yeah.
And here it's like, no.
Yeah.
No.
It's interesting, though, that you say no. Because I didn't exactly have that reaction.
Of course.
Not having played the game.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Maybe there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Abby's going to have a change of heart.
It is different. Yeah.
Joel is quite literally saved her life.
Mm-hmm.
And presenting as a very good person after this, being like, how do we help the town? Which way to go? You know? And I was like, maybe, you know, because I don't want to believe that Joel's going to die. I didn't know. I had no idea what was going to happen, but I was like, oh, interesting. Okay. Maybe Abby's mission gets really complicated for her now. Right? Because she's forced to confront the fact that this man did do these terrible things half a decade ago. But he clearly has some sort of heart or code.
She doesn't know at this point that it's Joel. Only we know that it's Joel.
She doesn't, but I'm saying, like,
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
She finds
that
out
is
seconds
definitely-
later,
yeah.
right?
Even, I mean, there's so many moments like throughout the game and the show that like could like I can understand like leads you to believe like this is going to be a complicated issue for her. Absolutely, you know. Yeah. I just love that moment of like seeing his hand in the watch first before anything, because like and I think that's what the show sets you up.
Yeah.
For it's like we know who she's looking for, right?
Yep.
And here's the thing: the little bit of change with Dina, right? Like Dina's suddenly calling, like Joel, what's going on, Joel? And I'm sitting there like last night watching this episode, I was like, stop saying his name.
I know.
Stop it.
Because part of me was also like, oh, what if it's going to be one of these weird things where maybe they don't say their names? Like my mind was racing. So I'm like,
yeah.
So maybe she's going to spend like an hour with him.
Yeah.
And then leave.
Yeah.
And then find out that was Joel in the next episode or something like that.
The thing about it is like the reason why I think that this is a genius decision to do this thing that happens with Joel is because no matter how many times I play the game, no matter how much I know that it's coming, I still go into every scene, every moment being like, don't do it. That my whole body and my mind is like fighting against it, you know? Yeah. And that recognition, when Abby hears Dina say Joel and Caitlin Dever is like, who? That moment delivered like so subtly and so only in the way that Caitlin Dever can fucking do it, you know? It's like that's the moment where I'm like, no, like Dina screwed up and she doesn't know it, you know?
No, she has no idea.
And like and that like hurts me because I keep telling her, it's like, no, she doesn't. No, don't say it. Don't do it. Don't listen to her, you know? But she noticed, and then I'm like, fuck.
Yep. Nah, she did it.
It's still gonna happen, you know? Part of me is like, I know it's gonna happen, but I don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
But it's going that now I know it's going to happen.
Or maybe not. I mean, honestly though, right?
That's the thing. It's like it keeps going back.
Things aren't exactly always the same.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you get another episode with Joel. Maybe she won't say it, right? It's like, we still hope. It's not a shot-for-shot remake of the game, you know? There's that little part of you that goes, well, maybe, you know, they change it. Or maybe like they're going to develop a friendship and then kill him at the end of the season or something.
I'm going to still watch this episode and still have that moment and still be like, you're not gonna do it, right? You're gonna and I'm still gonna. That's the thing. Is like it's done so well.
Yeah.
To make you feel that, to make you feel all those emotions.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I know what's coming, you know. They save Abby.
Yep.
And they go to the ski lodge. She kind of, and you know, against Joel's.
Yeah, Joel's trying to get back to Jackson because he sees from a distance that, obviously he knows about the storm, but then he sees the fires lit and the Hoard outside. So Joel's trying to go straight to Jackson. And she's like, Abby is like,
it's just a little farther.
The lodge, it's close. We have guns. There's more people they can help.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Right? And they get close. And then she's like, it's just a little further. We're almost there. So evil.
It's interesting because again in the show I'm like, just don't go, just don't turn back, just you can go, Joel. Like it gives you this like false hope. In the game, we don't know until they show up, until Tommy and Joel show up at the ski lodge, because there's no Jackson in trouble. They help Abby get back to it. They're running from a Hoard. The friends help them, and they start they throw some Hoard on fire, and then they go safely into the ski lodge, and then they take a breather, and then they introduce themselves. It's like, oh, I'm Tommy, and this is Joel, and then suddenly Abby has a look about her. Again, we didn't know who she was looking for.
Yeah.
And then she grabs a shotgun.
And
they knock out Tommy. And they shoot Joel in the leg.
Yeah.
And something's happened.
Yeah.
Something's changed. What just happened, right? Yeah. And here I'm just like, you still have a chance to get away, I'm getting ahead of myself. Abby gets them to the lodge. She knows what she's dealing with. They get inside. They're all getting protected. They're getting help or whatever. And Joel's like, we're going to go here and whatever. And he's like, and then Abby's like, hey, this is Dina. And this is Joel. And something changes.
Yeah, all the young kids are like.
Everyone turns around. Immediately, Manny grabs Dina, puts a gun to her head.
Yep.
We love Dina.
And Abby grabs a shotgun.
She does. But there's a little bit of talking. A little bit of what's going on here.
Yep.
Which we don't necessarily get in the game, but is important for us to know, to remind us of what is actually happening, right? She mentions, I don't think Joel cares. Joel, especially in the game and here, he knows. He doesn't. He's like, sure. They're like, who are you? And he's like, you're fireflies, right? Who do you think we are, right? And they mention it and stuff. It doesn't matter. He's like
military,
mercenary, military. He's pissed off a lot of people.
He's just looking at Jackson burning.
Could this be part of David's crew from the first game? Could this be part of Melanie Linsky's fucking crew? Could be anyone at this point, right? It doesn't matter. He knew what was up immediately.
And
right?
also I think they do kind of place themselves very quickly in the conversation, right? Because they're like, Abby says, I'm going to give you one chance to answer a question honestly.
And we won't kill
her, Tina. And then he's like, where was the last place you saw the fireflies? And Joel is honest. Says Salt Lake City. And then they sedate Dina for an hour, right? With some sort of shot tranquilizing thing. I don't know.
Plot device.
Yep.
I think it's the word you're looking for. But yes.
Right. No, they're right. It's liquid plot device.
Yeah, liquid plot device.
That's right. But I do want to talk about Dina and how they switch this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think that it's interesting because Ellie's knowledge of what happened and who they were maybe and what was happening, right?
Yeah.
She's going to get it from Dina.
She is.
And
absolutely.
Not from Tommy.
You're right.
And I think that's a great move. I'm not saying it's necessarily better, right? But you were talking about ways where we're not going to see this intimate moment that they had in the game when they find Eugene's stash and when they're waiting together. I think we're setting ourselves up for some serious trauma bonding between the two of them.
Yeah.
Because obviously Ellie is going to want to kill all of them.
Yeah.
But also, I think this is going to be a huge point of shared bonding trauma between Dina and Ellie.
Yeah. And the thing is like the change is also important because when it's Tommy, like we know how Tommy and Joel operate, how they're brothers, they protect each other or whatever. There's no decision to knock Tommy out, right? Like for Joel, right? Like Joel is in control there, right?
Yeah.
And he knows that whatever decision he makes, like it's important because Dina is important to Ellie and Ellie's important to Joel, right? And not to mention that like he knows what's coming.
Yeah.
Because he knows even before he knows who they are or why they are there or what they're going to do to him, he knows that Dina doesn't need to see it.
Yep.
And that's like important. That moment of like him just looking and like nodding, like, help me out here. Go ahead and knock her out. You know, like it's going to be okay. Not for me, but it's going to be okay for you.
Mm-hmm.
Such a heartbreaking moment.
Yeah, definitely.
To see like the recognition in Joel and how little that Pedro has to like convey there for all of that to come across.
I mean, he's accepted his fate in a pretty big way. It's like, you know, I mean, like we said last week, I mean, well, if it isn't the consequence of all my actions. Yeah. But I mean, I think he reads the room pretty clearly, right? He's unarmed. He's by himself. There are 5, 6 of them. Mm-hmm. And they know exactly who he is and have very specific business with him.
I think the moment things change, because at any point, if you're watching this the first time, I'd be curious to see how you feel about it. You know, Joel's handsome, smart, charismatic, can talk his way out of things. And there's a moment where you're like, maybe he can fix this in the way that Joel does. Like he's gotten out of hard situations before. This is not the first time he's found himself in a situation that he's needed to get himself out of. Yeah. But the moment she shoots him in the knee, that's for me the moment that he's gone.
I mean, he doesn't even try, right?
Yeah,
he really doesn't even try and get out of it. Mm-hmm. The only thing he says is, "Hurry up and get it over with."
That's after, you know, that's right. After he knows what's like going on, right? Like, so even before, like he knows what's happening or why, like she shoots him, you know, and then Caitlin, Abby goes into this thing of monologue of what you did, Joel. Doesn't matter why it was wrong. Mm-hmm. She's laying it all out, you know? Yeah. She's saying, like, that was my father. Yep. That innocent, unarmed doctor. Yep. Just in case, this is the moment where we realize now, like, what happened. Yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts? As this is happening?
I mean, it's...
Before we get into
It's pretty gross, right? I mean, there's just like this whole sense of dread. It's just a very, very ugly and uncomfortable situation, right?
Last week you said, I'm beginning to sympathize with Abby. Yeah. How much did you sympathize with Abby during that monologue?
I mean, a good amount, right? I'm going to stand by what I think I said last week. Yeah. And say it again this week. Mm-hmm. Is that like, I very much understand her desire for revenge or justice, mm-hmm. you know, some cosmic sense of justice. I'm not saying that if someone dies, gets killed, you get to kill the person who killed them, right? It's like eye for an eye doesn't doesn't always pan out. I'm just saying I get that kind of primal desire to take the life of the person who took the life of someone you love.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Thing I don't think is sympathetic, that I said last week and I'll say again, is the whole like, slowly, we're going to kill him slowly. It's like, look, if you need him to be dead because he killed someone that you love, fine. Torture is like adding a whole different level or layer to things for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sadistic, it's fucked up, it's inhumane. So is killing someone,
Mm-hmm.
right? But for me, in this like lawless world,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, Joel blindly walked in and put a bullet in your dad's head, and you feel like you need to kill Joel. Who am I to tell you can do that or not?
Mm-hmm.
Torturing? I don't know about that. So I stand by what I said.
Yeah.
I think her desire to get rid of Joel and to kill him, very understandable. I have a very tough time condoning torture in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. The only thing I can say is that I was the most still and quiet during this episode when she was doing her monologue than I had been the rest of the episode. Caitlin does such a tremendous job here
Yeah, she's great.
that I'm like conflicted.
Yeah.
That I understand where she's coming from, and yet I'm like, please don't. You can still turn back. Like, you don't need to do this.
To that point, too, there's even a moment where I was like, it's written really well, too. I don't know how much of this is in the game, but like, I think Joel says, or maybe Dina says it at some point. One of them. I don't remember if it's before Dina gets knocked out and she says it, or if it's Joel. But one of them says, he saved your life.
Joel did.
Joel says, I saved your life,
Yeah.
right? Okay. And her line is, what life?
Yeah.
And then talks about what it's like having to live knowing without her father, knowing he got blown away in this senseless way. And it's like, that's for me, that's when like the doors really closed. And I was like, there is no getting out of this for Joel.
Yeah. It's so heartbreaking because like this train is coming and it's not stopping, and you just think over and over and over again, like, just stop, just don't, just anyone in this group. And then they cut to shots of this group and they're stoic, just staring, not moving a muscle. And I'm like, no one's going to stop this.
This is the thing that they came to do.
Yeah. Well, that Abby came to do, and that they may not have agreed with, but now they're here.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've all placed themselves here, and they're like, this is it. We trust Abby. The thing is like, they put so much into Abby as a character. Whatever she has, she's ruthless. She's charismatic. She is exactly the same person as Joel. And we're seeing in this moment that like, she can change people. She can lead people, that people are following her. No questions asked.
Yeah.
That's power.
Mm-hmm.
And that's threatening. And that is scary. It's like, I don't care that she doesn't look like she does in the game, that she doesn't have the muscles and she's not as threatening or whatever, because when you see that literally no one lifts a finger to say a word to stop this,
Yeah.
you know that she is a threat.
Yeah.
That this is going to happen.
Absolutely.
And that's scary. And the moment I was dreading, the moment I was waiting for, it's such a weird, iconic symbol that I hate with my very being. And I was like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to react, but I knew it was coming. The moment the camera pans over to the golf club.
Golf bags. Yep.
And like the tears started rolling. Like I knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And I was beside myself.
Yeah.
You know? Good performance.
Yeah.
Amazing. But yeah, it's hard to take. It's hard to know. And I want to get into the aftermath of it, but yeah, that I just such a good scene that plays out a little bit differently from the game, but even then I'm like, I know what's happening, but I'm still like every little moment like affects me, you know?
Totally.
Ellie tries. She knows she's still looking for Joel.
Mm-hmm.
We know she cares.
Yeah.
And she finds the ski lodge.
Mm-hmm.
And she barges in.
I mean, she hears the sounds of someone being tortured.
Yeah.
So she takes out her knife, draws her pistol, slowly opens the door.
Did you think Ellie was gonna save? I'm curious.
Maybe.
How did you feel?
I didn't know. I mean, to be totally honest, by the time she got there, I was like, she might kill all of them. I thought she might kill everyone there.
Sure.
But I didn't think Joel was going to live.
Well,
I thought that Ellie might get a moment with him, and maybe they'll take him back to town or something. But I was like, I think he's too fucked up to live through this. At that point, I thought I did.
We skipped over it as a good time to mention it. Like we'd mentioned that he's accepted this. He said, "Shut up
and get it over with.
Do what you're going to do."
Yeah.
He already knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, and Abby says that fucked up thing I think I need to talk about just because we've been talking about
absolutely.
whether
It's so,
if
I
Abby's
forget.
sympathetic, but I mean, he says that, and she's like, "You stupid old man. You don't get to rush me," or something like very close to that, which is psychotic. I mean, that's sociopath levels for me.
Sure.
Which is crazy because, like, man, like otherwise, you know, Caitlin Dever and Abby's performance is like, she doesn't come across as sociopathic. You know, I think she's pretty endearing. I don't know. I you know, that's like for me as an audience member, that's like one of the big things I'm reconciling with.
It's the cycles, and we'll talk more about that throughout the season. I think it's a clear parallel that's going to happen. You know, Abby saw her dad's brains on the floor, and in this world, like losing a person you love, so much harder. I think in this time than it is when when it happens, and
well, especially when you lose them to not natural causes.
When they're taken away from you.
By another human being too, not by infected or something. By someone who's supposed to be on your side.
And we've met people that are supposed to be somewhat normal. A therapist is like, has, I don't know, sociopathic tendencies. They're a little off, you know? Sure. Everyone is struggling.
Yeah.
It's, sociopathic, but not sociopathic in the way that we would say nowadays, right? Like, this is a person that, like, but here it's like, this person, like, how else would you feel?
I agree.
I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to get to with Ellie, because how is she supposed to feel?
I mean, this is also the thing that's like, it's, you know, who knows? Maybe I'm waxing too poetic here.
No, sure. Yeah.
You know, so this sounds like me, you know, putting on the tinfoil cap, and I'll shut the fuck up. But what got Joel killed was the way he did it, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough for Abby just to put a bullet in Joel's head. She has to torture him and really fuck him up. And I think that is going to motivate Ellie in a very big way to fuck up Abby's life.
To play.
I think the way that Abby did it is going to gonna fuck up her life. That's what I'm saying.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
I can definitely, no spoilers. It's gonna.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
At any moment, Abby could have just put a bullet in Joel's head, be like, we're out. Ellie wouldn't have known. Ellie would have found out. He just has a bullet in his head. There's nothing to work with, right? And Abby can try and move on with her life. But because she takes her time, kills him slowly, tortures him, she's made a nemesis for life. Right?
To play a little bit of devil's advocate, it's not
Please.
just that Joel took her father. Joel took away the cure for humanity. Right? Like,
Maybe.
Is she enacting this on behalf of everyone?
You're devil's advocating it, and I can appreciate it.
Like, is that not?
I stand by what I
is
said
that
last
not
episode.
technically true? Yeah,
a potential cure.
Okay, but
there's no guarantee that surgery works.
Suspension of disbelief. Let's say that the cure would have worked, right?
Yeah. Okay.
What is it? Is she not justified in like you like why like in I'm not, and again I think the way that she does it is important here, and I think the way that Joel does things is important, and I think like we have to recognize that these are like, you could have done things differently, you know?
Yes.
But it is not just a single like you killed my father kind of thing. It is definitely like you screwed up everyone. Like the Fireflies, we had a life. Like we were like going to like help people, and you took everything away.
I don't know if I get that from Abby's performance.
Maybe
though.
not. Probably not.
I mean, like maybe that's true, and you can make that argument here. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a super valid argument, but like the thrust of Abby's arc in these 2 episodes is not about for the sake of humanity, right? Because then also she'd be like, also where the fuck's Ellie? She doesn't give a fuck.
She doesn't even know.
She doesn't care
Doesn't
or
even
no.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think I see it way more as vengeance, a 1-for-1. What does she talk about the cure? Does she talk about how good of a man and her dad's process was? No. She's talking about, you senselessly killed my dad and it hurt me a lot. So I'm going to hurt you as much as I can now. That's how I'm receiving it, at least.
And the thing is like you're 100% right, and I'm just trying to like add, see if I can like throw in like, is there any way we can like understand a little bit more? Like, is this justified? I don't think it's justified. I don't think she should do this and whatever. But like, yeah, it's
killing people's probably bad.
But I will say it's like, you know, if she were doing it like in a selfless way, you know, like if she were doing it on behalf of humanity, there's like potentially, you know, you could think that like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like, but it is like, it's not just, I will say it's like what Joel did was not just bad on like a killing a person but you know, he did potentially screw up like the goal of for 20 years of that one organization, you know, because or 14 years, because like they knew when Ellie was born something was different, but they didn't know, right, until whatever.
No, that's right.
So there's a whole lot you could be getting there. I just like to explore it, but Ellie does find it, and she gets.
Yeah, she kind of starts to come into the room, throws the door open, gun drawn, knife out. Somebody, I don't remember who exactly.
No hesitation for her to do whatever she needs. As soon as she sees Joel, she is doing her thing.
But unfortunately, someone quickly knocks the gun out of her hand. She takes a swipe with somebody with a knife and does slice him, but then gets...
It's Manny, yeah.
Then she gets thrown to the ground and is eye to eye with Joel across the room. Very, very, very heartbreaking and uncomfortable scene.
You're playing as Ellie in this moment. You hear the sounds, you know what's happening. You go in there and suddenly you can't do anything.
Yeah.
And she's like, get up, Joel.
Yep.
Get up. And you think maybe.
Yeah.
right? She's here. Now they're together. Now they can get out of it together.
And Pedra's performance is so heartbreaking. He's just staring at her. He like ever so slightly lifts his head. He's real banged up at this point. And he doesn't look good. And he like kind of like hand
Lifts a finger.
twitches. You can see the watch. Head is kind of moving, and in the foreground of the shot.
What do you think?
And
What do you think's going on through his head?
I mean, I can wax poetic about this again. It's a tough moment. I have no idea what goes on in a moment like that in real life. I don't know, but
I have thoughts. So
I have to imagine the best thing that could have happened for Joel was for Ellie to show up, just because he gets to see before he goes that Ellie really cares about him, right? That for all the frustration he's been having and how unappreciated and ungrateful he feels, you know, he gets to see that this kid actually really cares about him more than anything in the world. I think that she's probably the only person on the planet that he's able to even lift that finger for, right?
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's supposed to be.
I have a opposite reaction. To me, it's like that performance in that moment. I don't even remember how it happens in the game, but like here he tries to like lift that finger, and I'm like, he didn't want Dina to see what was going to happen, and he knew what was happening. The last person he wanted to be there was Ellie. And I felt like that moment when he lifts that finger was him with his like final moments, with everything he had, was the instinct to protect her again.
Yeah, totally.
The fact that she was on the ground and she was hurt, that he would do anything to get her out of there. And I was so, again, like devastated once again by that moment.
I mean, I think that's there too, though. I don't think what you and I are saying are necessarily mutually exclusive.
That's the thing. It's like, I didn't get that, but like it's two different. It's the same.
I think that like, he definitely, I don't think he was like, oh, I want Ellie to be here. I think he for sure doesn't want her to be here.
Yeah.
But once she is there, I mean, I think it's like arguably the person alive that he still loves the most. Right. Yeah. And I would imagine when any of us go, we want the people we love around us.
It's so hard because, like, I mean, here it's true. Ellie has no idea why this is happening.
Yeah. Senseless.
She's not even like sure, like what's happening. She just knows.
Are these people?
And she's like, they've been through this before, but she doesn't understand. Right. And she doesn't get that until like later, you know? I think if I recall correctly in the game, Joel doesn't even know. Joel's not sure that they're. I can't remember. I forget. Get in the comments. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Was it?
But like,
sorry, wait. Pause.
Yeah.
There's
no
Abby's non-monologue is not there
that
in the game?
monologue is not quite there. No, there's like elements of it.
But like even when she asks, when was the last time you saw the fireflies? Because I think that in the show that very clearly marks who they are and why.
The thing is like, again, the way that the game plays out is like out of order from the way that the show is playing it, right? And so like when we play as Abby, we get moments of like understanding to like why she did what she did, but it's not till after. Here we literally just get from Ellie's perspective.
Yeah.
Like when this happens and they're like, they see Joel and Tommy, you assume that it's something that they did together, right? That they're mad at them. I don't think that they even know that they're fireflies. I'm forgetting. I should have looked it up or whatever. But like the point is like we definitely don't know it was the doctor.
Yeah.
Right. They're just hurting Joel. And from Ellie's perspective, that's it.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that like Joel is dying.
Yeah.
You know? And we have no idea why, and he has no idea why, right? And I think it's even sadder that he doesn't know. and he doesn't know what's going to happen to Ellie.
Yeah.
Now that she's there. And I think that's why for me it's like a protection instinct that he's like trying his best to like protect her, like to get her out of there, even though he can't anymore, because that is still always going to be his instinct no matter what, because he loves Ellie. And yet like he doesn't even know why this is exactly happening, you know? And he doesn't know that they're there, because if he did know, that would be like, don't be here. Like, you're the reason they're here because I saved you. And they don't know that, but he knows that. It's like it's like the last thing that he would want to happen, you know? It's it could be a heartbreaking moment. And it's different based on whether you're watching the show or playing the game. Yeah. You know, I think no matter what, it's devastating, no matter how you look at it. Yeah. But it is so interesting that like how we read that moment based on like how we're experiencing it, you know, based on the medium or whatever. I don't know. It's just like so hard. Before we get to the ending and the actual like death, I think it's a good a time as any to talk about the fact that this happened and the fact that not everyone's going to accept it. And not everyone has accepted it.
How do you mean?
That the controversy of killing Joel has been wildly blown, not out of proportion, but like it is disrupted the industry of gaming and like media and like whatever. To the point where like Laura Bailey, who is the voice actress for Abby, got death threats for what she did, quote unquote, to Joel.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about it. How do you feel about this decision to take away Joel? What does it mean to you?
Not that much yet, if I'm being totally honest. It's hard for me to know if I think it's a good decision without knowing what happens during the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's a bold move for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say about this. I guess, like,
go ahead.
First and foremost, like, man, nobody complains like gamers complain. And like, I'm sorry that your video game didn't play out story-wise the way you wanted it to. People die. Especially people who do dangerous, bad things to lots of people. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of video games where the main characters never die. So I'm very open to see what happens with this one. Do I think it's a good decision? Again, I don't know yet. I got to see what the rest of the show's like. But I mean, geez, you know, like, is the point that you get to hang on to your character that you love so much forever and ever, or to tell a great story? I don't know. People have different wants from games or art or shows, you know?
Yeah.
But like I was saying earlier, for me, one of the boldest choices you can make as a storyteller is killing off big characters, right?
Yeah.
I think it creates big stakes. You're telling your audience, hey, we don't have a Superman here. You know, we don't have a John Wick. Anybody can die. I think that makes everyone, the characters that you do keep, all the more precious.
Yeah.
Right? The same thing in D&D, right? Are TPKs awesome? No. Is character death a good thing? No, of course. We love our characters. We want them to live. But the fact that those stakes really do exist and that you can lose a character makes the gameplay, or in this case, the story, all the more precious. So again, I'm not saying it's good that Joel died. I don't know yet. But I think storytellers should be allowed to make that choice. And I certainly don't think actors should get death threats for
absolutely
killing them. I mean, that's fucking absolutely ridiculous.
There's a clear almost immediately after the episode aired, Pedro Pascal posted a picture of him and Caitlin Dever together, like on the snowy mountains, and like they're happy and like whatever, like almost to show people, it's like, hey, do not be mad at her.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
if you're mad at the actor, like, dude, get out of your basement
yeah.
and touch grass. Like, holy shit.
Seriously. Here's the thing. I can understand the hatred. I asked your significant other, your partner, like how she felt about the episode, and she's like, I hated it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I should say that we finished the episode. Like, you know, credits roll, and she was like, I hate it.
Yeah.
Hated it.
You are
like,
not supposed to like it, you know? And I understand, again, I respect people that think that this decision is a very, very hard one to take in, right?
Yeah.
I can understand coming from a game that's the sequel to one of the best games of all time.
Yeah.
And at that was said, you know, 10 out of 10, you know, 5 stars, whatever you want to say, right? And then you like get like, you know, a couple of hours into the game and suddenly the main character is dead. The person that you were expecting to like go on this journey with, you know, like that you wanted like so much. What? All of a sudden, that I can understand is very, very, very heartbreaking. I can understand how that changes how you view like the game going forward and what you thought this game was going to be. And, you know, but at the same time, what a fucking bold, genius decision. Because to me, Joel's story, as was very clear from the beginning of the season, from the end of the first season, from the beginning of the second game, Joel's story was done.
Yeah.
Joel's arc was done. Yeah. He has gone as far as he could. And if you cannot recognize that Ellie is the main character, that she is really the one that we cared about, the one that like made Joel who he was, like in the first game, that the only reason we love Joel is because of Ellie. And if it wasn't for Ellie, we would not love Joel as much as we did. And we take him away, and all we are left with is the person that we cared about the most. Like, if you cannot see that, like, you're missing the fucking point.
I think you're even missing it in a more poetic way too, right? Which is like a huge part of The Last of Us game and show is about finding reasons to move on with life after someone you love is gone. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this choice very much puts you, the audience member, in kind of the same place that Joel was at the end of the first episode of the first season.
Mm-hmm.
After his daughter dies. It's like, why do I need to exist? Why do I even live anymore?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point? Right? Nothing matters anymore. This is like I think is such a big part of the show is like when you lose someone who you think is essential to your world. How do you move on? How do you keep going?
The thing that I love so much about it, I hate saying I love about it, but like it's true. Like I love it. I love this decision. And what becomes very clear in this episode and later episodes is like, it's not just a death to shock you, right? It's not just to say like, hey, here's something crazy that we did. It's like, it's supposed to show like how harsh this world is.
Yep.
And the fact that like, you don't get closure.
Yeah.
This was ripped out from Ellie. The way that you feel right now, the fact that like you didn't get Joel and Ellie, that you didn't feel like that they were on the rocks, that there was something going on and like all this stuff, and yet this gets pulled away from her, is exactly how you're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
That this is like not supposed to happen, that this is wrong. And that's the thing, is like we're put exactly into Ellie's place and we're feeling exactly the way that she feels. It's like, why is this happening?
Totally. I mean, taking a step back too.
Yeah.
If you're showing up watching playing The Last of Us for feel good moments, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What do you think this is? It's like, look, there are so many shows and stories and movies that are just supposed to be like make you feel good, right? And
Yeah.
The Last of Us is very clearly interested in doing something a little different. I'm not saying that makes it good. If you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to like it. But like the show is very clearly trying to deal with some of the toughest things human beings can go through.
Yeah.
Losing the people they love, right?
You mentioned it before, and Craig Mazin has mentioned it a lot of times in his writing, is like, hey, when good things are happening in The Last of Us, like, don't get used to it, because something that's not the world that we live in, right? Something bad is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
You're trained to like think that. I think the thing is like, even though I mentioned it's like Joel's story is done, at the end of the day, is like it should feel a little bit incomplete.
Yeah.
You know? Because it is the reality and the harshness of the world that they live in, you know? That we can't have it some complete kind of story, that even if there was probably more to his story, that it's cut short.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's why Abby is here, you know? And it sets our character off, Ellie, on a whole new path.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is what I was last week. I was kind of like, all right, we're domestic now. We're like back in a society, and like Joel and Ellie feel kind of out of place. But like for me, as someone who didn't play the second game and had no idea, I'm kind of like curious to see what the story arc of this season is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe Abby showing up was going to be like dragged out, and there'd be this whole like maybe scenario within town where she starts telling people about what Joel did. She starts telling people about who Ellie is and what her superpower is, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Very clearly now, Ellie needs to go kill Abby.
Yeah. And I can tell you that whatever you think it is too, in the game and in the show, it's also going to change. Like what I think the show and the game was at this point also changes for me as I'm playing it, you know, and is going to change, and is going to surprise you, you know, which is just the genius of the writing, you know, and the medium and stuff like that. And we will definitely get to that, but I don't know. I just had to mention the fact that like, I think that like this matters.
Yeah.
It matters that Joel dies in the way that he does, and that he gets ripped away from Ellie in the way that he does, and that you feel you're very valid in your feelings and your grief and all those kinds of things, and how you feel about it, and even if you like hate it, right? And I think that's exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yep.
Because it's not supposed to feel fair.
Yep.
It's not supposed to feel like that this is how things are supposed to go. It's supposed to feel like you were robbed of something.
Yes.
Because Ellie was robbed of everything.
Yep.
And that's where we're going. When Abby does it, small difference.
Oh.
She uses the golf club, yes. So devastating to show this golf club broken in half in the show.
Yeah.
The fact that she has been beating him for so long that she broke metal.
Yeah.
And that the way that she does this is not blunt, not as physical as it was in the game, but is just as devastating and is almost quieter.
Yeah.
And like, it's to the point where you're like, you don't even notice almost that she does it. And Ellie they talk about this in the podcast, and like, Bella Ramsey going from like devastation and like heartbreak to pure fucking wrath.
Rage, dude. Just wrath. Absolutely.
Just like, oh my God. Like,
yeah.
That moment. We don't, in the game, it's so interesting. We don't get the aftermath. They knock her out, cuts to black. By the time we see the game again, she's at the grave.
Yeah, wow.
And here they kick her and she gets to crawl over.
Mm-hmm.
And we get this beautiful moment that we didn't get of like realizing like, again, just everything that she just lost.
Yeah.
Everything that was taken away from her. If you think about like, I wanted to be on patrol. I wanted to talk to him. This isn't where I wanted to be. Like, this isn't where we were supposed to be, you know? And like, I can't do that, you know?
Yeah.
And like, this is the person, this was like the only person that she could ever, at this point, has ever loved, that has shown her love, that has protected her, that has like gotten her everywhere. And like, she can't do anything but just be there.
Truly like her father.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like so heartbreaking.
Yeah. It's very, very sad.
And to make matters even more, if you're aware of the game or you know, the history and the I guess the lore, so to speak, is like a song plays. There's a song that's playing. If that voice reminds you of anyone, it's because it's Ashley Johnson, which I forgot her name last week, but that's the voice of Ellie. And they used that song in a previous teaser for the second game.
Yeah.
And they use it here, and they mention it in the podcast, and it's something to like just make note of. Is like Ashley Johnson is not only the voice of Ellie, so this is somewhat of like an inner manifestation of what is going on with her, right? Yeah. Of Ellie, the character in the show, but also it's an echo of Ellie's mother.
Yeah.
The only other person that has loved her and protected her the way that Joel has, you know, because Ashley Johnson played her mother in the first season. It's like, if you weren't devastated or destroyed enough, they like do that to you.
Yeah.
You know? And that's it.
Yeah.
Joel's gone. How do you feel?
Sayonara, Pedro.
Salute. Pour one out for the old man.
40 for my homie. I think we're gonna see him a lot in flashbacks.
There's gonna be flashbacks. I will say this also
I will say,
happens,
I mean, this is how hard it was for me, and I don't have the same emotional attachment as you, but still, like, even after Abby, you know, stabs him in like the neck, I think, with the broken.
Yes, whatever it
club.
is, it kills him outright. You know,
but like his eyes are still open.
Oh my God.
And he's like twitching a little and trying to look at her, and Bella Ramsey's like so close to him, and then the last shot of the episode, my God,
of him being pulled.
Yeah, well, you don't know that right away, right? It's this big, it's this big wide of like the forest and these trees and the snow, and there's two horses, and then it pans out and out and out. Then we see a rope. And then there's just a body getting dragged on the ground, wrapped up in white with blood coming through it in a number of different places. And that's this is where, you know, again, since I didn't play, part of me was still like, maybe he's still alive. like not gonna live, but like, you know, maybe Ellie gets one more conversation with him. Maybe they get to reconcile. Nope. He's just gone.
Yep. The only thing I regret is like, if we were going to go that far, I wish we had seen Tommy's reaction. I know we're going to get it.
We'll get it next episode. We'll definitely get it.
We definitely don't get that in the game, to be honest. But like, now I just want it because he wasn't there. You know,
Yeah. I also
there's
wanna
so many
watch-
moments where you're like, hey, someone save him. You can save him.
Yeah.
Jackson saved. Go, Tommy. You can go. You can get there. You know, you can get there in time. You know, and that just doesn't happen. It can't.
Yep.
You know, because then we don't have a story. Well, that's episode 2
Yeah.
of season 2 of what's going to be a 3-season arc, probably.
Yeah. I will say this too.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and watching the show, and you happen to be on the side of, well, fuck this show. You just killed the person I love so much, right? I would say stick with it for a little longer, even though I don't know what's coming. Just because if you trust filmmakers to present a story that you find so compelling that you're this upset about losing the character, trust that maybe also there's big things that you're going to feel down the road, right? It's like, how many characters die in shows that you don't give a shit about, or that you're like, oh, okay. If you're having a visceral reaction to losing this person, that even though you don't like it, clearly they're doing something well as filmmakers, as storytellers, I think. Anytime I'm that upset about something like that, I'm like, well, they did something right, because clearly you're invested. So yeah, I would at least give them a couple more episodes, because they clearly know how to make you give a shit about stuff.
Yeah. To me, the journey is worth it.
Yeah.
I think you have to take yourself away from the fact that, like, Joel's not the main character, Ellie is, and you need to put yourself in Ellie's mindset. You need to understand, like, where she's coming from as she goes throughout the rest of the season, right? And you have to see her journey, you know? Because at the end of the day, like, that's who really matters. And, like, as much as I love Joel, we all love Joel.
Yeah.
I think Joel, again, in my opinion, only was his best self because of Ellie.
Yeah.
You know? And Joel, we still see that he relies on his old habits, that he still hasn't fully gotten to the point of, like, being the person he could be. And I think, unfortunately, like, Joel's like, I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think your time is done, you know? And I think it's Ellie's time now.
Yeah.
You know? What Ellie does and how this season unfolds, it's going to be even wilder. Again, what you thought the season was going to be.
Yeah.
Things have changed. Abby has changed things. Abby's changed things for Jackson. Abby has changed things for Ellie.
Yeah.
And you might hate it, but it's such a good story. I can tell you from having played it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know now.
Yeah.
Is Ellie going to kill Abby? Or is she going to learn forgiveness?
We'll get into that someday.
Yeah.
Apparently not season 2, because
Okay.
Spoiler alert, we have more seasons to come.
Yeah.
And if that does happen, whether or not that does happen, I can neither confirm nor deny, as the Navy would.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. It's definitely not happening this season. So,
Okay.
for sure. But things do happen, and I am excited
I'm sure things will happen.
to be there. Some good things and some bad things. I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we're here. I think we're at the end of it. I've cried already.
Yeah.
You know, you are emotionless and stoic and cold-hearted, obviously. God, clearly, God. I'm just kidding. But thank you so much for joining me again for episode 2 for The Last of Us. And I'll see you, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening to Codependent Content. For updates, you can follow us on social media. And if you ever want to see a video version of this podcast, feel free to check us out on YouTube or Spotify. If you have any questions or simply want to tell us about something we missed, you can email us at codependentcontent@gmail.com. Or just leave a comment on TikTok and we'll get back to you. Links to all our accounts, where to contact us, or other ways to support will be in the description or show notes. We're glad you're here and working through your traumas with us. Remember, when you're lost in the darkness, search for the light. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you. Until the next session, Cowabunga dudes.